This week on Hermitcraft.
Oh, he's happy. He's just kind of waiting around, not too sure. Oh, his head's starting to bob. What are we gonna do? And he's
not dead. He's been subdued.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixel Riffs. Our writer is Loy XP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. And this week brings us possibly the greatest thing the Permit office has done so far, thanks to it being open for more than half a day per week. The Grand Permitmaster competition, deciding the fate of the new trial chamber materials within the Hermit economy. But there's the whole Hermit economy at stake as a new organization rises, threatening the state of things, which is what happens when the person responsible for the biggest pranks on the server follows through on his map art. Strangely enough, some hermits find themselves on both sides of this widening rift, but that's by no means the first time that's happened on this server, so let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week, and then probably award them some points. Starting with the Permitmaster event, which is much like the original game show they're parodying, but with so much more dying.
He saved you! He saved you!
That was impressive.
That's very good.
Joe Hill, Zombie Cleo, Vintage Beef, Full Symmetry, Smallish Beans, and a few chickens come to participate, and Grian and Cubfan are all too happy to give them their missions, should they accept it. Should they accept it? Well, there's market for maces on this, the BOO Screaming server, and you certainly could at least resell the permit for all remaining trial chamber loot to Azuma Void. Speaking of good old B-dubs, round 1 is to bring the most exciting thing to show and tell, and Zombie Cleo brings a tiny 3D model of him to the table.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Good thing I brought my glass.
It is a genuine, life-size replica of B-dubs.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Good thing I brought my glasses for this.
Wait, I've just...
We only bring it up because False asks him to hide it somewhere in her base for her to discover later. Round 2 is to produce the most surprising death message, and they would have done it easily if they watched our show and knew about Mumbo's secret murder llama room.
Okay, will this work? Will this work? No! That is not.
Round 3 is a battle against a melon, and Joe Hills utterly fails that somehow.
Is there melon slices in your inventory right now, Joe?
In my inventory right now. I think they're in False's inventory right now.
He didn't do it!
I see.
What do you think, Coach?
For 4, you have to get an advancement you haven't gotten yet, which is a challenge they reused from the last time there was a permit competition, and hopefully will reuse again since it gets harder every time.
I've actually never done this before, probably. No, Joel. I don't even know what that one is, Joe. What the heck?
And after that, the contestants had to assemble into teams and produce a minute-long short film about a chicken on a time limit. ZF fans will know why he'd be great at that, but he's not present.
That's impressive, actually.
I don't know what you mean.
Really didn't linger much on that last title there, did it?
What was the last video?
And after that, they played a simple round of Simon Says, but Cubfan is Simon, and he recently said that an armadillo should be exploded up to space, so maybe be careful with the things he's saying.
Let's go. Come on, baby. Oh! Let's go. Give me my spyglass. Where is he? There he is.
At the end, he says False Symmetry wins, even despite all the attempted pandering Joe Hills brought to the table.
She still has the wild card permit.
I'm confused, honestly.
False walks away with the mace permit, leaving Joel Smallish Beans with the generous allowance to sell all the other dungeon loot. But maybe he should sell that to Azuma, if only so breeze farming doesn't cut into his time for building a city block at a time. We don't mean to downplay it, there's clearly something in the water where Joel lives, because his next skyscraper is more like 4 other buildings stuck together with unique facades on each side. He's been doing negative space builds the whole season, but the distance between the storefronts on this one really is below 0.
Oh boy, 5.5 hours worth of time lapses right there. 5.5 hours. My gosh. But was it worth it? I think it was.
One extra convenient perspective of the Permitmaster boss battle would be Vintage Beef's video, as he keeps the contestant scores on screen. Otherwise, Vintage Beef's accomplishments in the Permitmaster contest include being unable to pin his lava death on a pillager despite the pillager pinning a crossbow bolt to his chest, being somewhat vindicated by using that lava to dispose of a watermelon fastest, lagging behind in the advancement race because of piglins being hard to find, providing well-trained stunt chickens for the group video project, and then immediately eliminating himself from Cub Says, because when you've been following instructions the entire game, it's a hard habit to break. Joe Hills plays with the strategy of flattering the Permitmaster wherever possible, earning points for presenting a firework Cub fan made, and name tagging an evoker Admiration of the Permitmaster before letting it work its magic on his health bar.
Joe Hills says was killed by Admiration of the Permitmaster using magic.
Yeah. That's what I said to myself. I was like, why would I do that? I was very confused.
Despite this promising start, the strategy backfires when he isn't supposed to do what Cub tells him, and he gets disqualified from destroying a melon because there's still evidence of it in his inventory. So it makes sense that when offered, Joe continues to contest the establishment's stranglehold on the shopping district, admiring Pearlescent Moon's latest additions to the Nether Portal, and getting on board with Jevin's proposals for how the system could be broadened.
All I want to do is have dumb tasks where we compete.
There you go.
That is it. I want to make videos about doing silly stuff very quickly and then mocking each other mercilessly.
Joe's happy for there to be competition, as long as the competition is more Permitmaster. Although if tasked to complete Cub Fan's maze, he might need a little more parkour training. And don't try to memorize the route based on the Nether Roof map either.
I don't know how to do better this. I see why Jevin said that he just gave up.
Jevin's expansion for his no POE resistance is understandable. After all, with the actual name being POE, there's twice the POEs to resist. But Joe Hills alone isn't adequate backup, and the flyers Jevin's been spreading across the shops don't actually have a number to contact, so he has to show up in person to XB Crafted's den and offers him a chance to shake up the status quo, if only because the Prismarine shop has been lagging behind this season.
I am so sick and tired of paying ridiculous amounts of money for things that I shouldn't have to pay, you know. I'm so upset about it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it sounds good to me.
When XB Crafted isn't raging against the machine, he's getting excited about the tweaks he can make to his Ocean Monument base. There are subtle hints of Season 3, but the whole thing is elevated, resculpting the design with both new blocks and old. It's also getting to the point where he can tidy away all the temporary storage and relocate the Nether Portal, but there are still important changes for any homeowner to consider, like what color to make the skylight.
Oh, what if we did orange? That would get just a touch. Oh, orange. Orange.
If we're taking inspiration from old seasons, XB is in good company, because Mumbo finds himself doing the same thing, returning to his Season 6 base to get inspiration for a laboratory on the far edge of his cliffside row.
I think I was accidentally really smart when building these mega structures because the majority of this build is air.
The lab, which seems to have held an ocelot hostage for some reason, is contaminating the wheat field below, which means it's only a matter of time until Big Ron eats the green bread.
Building. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back for being able to transfer a building style that I used to do a lot back in the day and move it into this kind of new era of Minecraft.
But for Mumbo, inspiration doesn't just come from the past. Visiting the retro future of Impulse and B-Dubs' Cyberpunk City gives him plenty of ideas for details, including neat kinetic light patterns with copper bulbs. Or maybe that's just him seeing stars after Cub Fan hit him with a mace one too many times. Jevin too has tasted the Cub Fan violence after they play the pig game, essentially mace trick shots at one another until 3 strikes, you're out. But the best value Cub PvP comes to us with Gemini Tay, who straight up invited him to her secret Trident fight club where they riptide into one another with murderous intent.
Didn't go, I swear. I had it pulled back and it didn't go. Jeez.
Riptide is so weirdly, like, I don't know, it's hard to control.
Naturally, this means Cub now has to build his own PvP arena, and last time he did that, we got the Total Chaos minigame where walls throw potions at you and the ceiling randomly explodes. To tie it all together, Impulse's latest building in the Cyberpunk City is tall enough that a mace trick shot from the summit would be pretty impressive. But as Impulse explains, you're designed to drop through it, since this towering skyscraper will be host to a dropper minigame. It's also finally a landmark taller than the Stay Puft Marshmallow armor stand, which Impulse gets revenge for by recreating a King Kong scene out on one of the towers of Joel Beans' base.
Little bit of payback for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the Cyberpunk City.
Back at street level, Azuma and Pearl help investigate the mystery of the flickering rail, which turns out to be a dolphin glitching items through the ground from the Metro Mayhem course, and Impulse experiments with the limits of new transport options, floating boats down below bedrock, and using minecarts for superfast vertical travel through nether portals.
Now that does make this a one-way trip. Honestly, going down is always easy. You just fall.
Tango Tech is advancing with his own minigame, having made big developments in Restaurant Running Simulator.
Obviously, some tweaks will be made. I might make some minor adjustments here and there. And of course, we have a lot of redstone to do here.
His plate-up clone now has the customer patience indicator figured out, and of course it's the armor stands representing the guests slowly lowering their faces into the table. This actually uses the same armor stand mod tech as Decked Out 2 did, and if that's on the table, then so are custom low-poly rat models, or at least should be, #Ratgate. Tango also mocks up multiple restaurant layouts to make every game special and unique in more ways than just the profanities you'll be throwing at your teammate in the high-stress serving situation. Otherwise, the recap stance on the matter remains as it's always been: let bro cook. Unrelated, Good Times with Scar has set the redwood forest he's building on fire. Much as we protested against the acacia orange, even we have to admit this may be a bit too much red there, buddy.
Yeah, it's like 2 in the morning. I'm kind of loopy right now. I'm very tired, but I think it was worth it. This very well might be the best glasswork we've ever done together.
The smouldering tree stumps of the artificial biome do add a nice contrast to the further area, but the real cherry on top is, of course, the still burning pine up front, engulfed in decorative glass flames. Truly a sight to behold, especially since this means a tarnished has become Elden Lord.
Every angle of this tree is unique and different, and that's what I absolutely love about it.
After advocating for her bone truck to be left out of the pop-up purge, Pearlescent Moon does get to eavesdrop on Skiz and Scar having to face the music.
You're perjuring me by proxy now.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe she came in with receipt.
That hasn't stopped the permit office sending her politely worded complaints about what she's done with the shopping district portal. But Pearl takes this as an excuse to double down on the wacky character designs, giving them flailing limbs, elongated tongues, and adding a bee with a Giga Chad jaw for good measure.
There, oh my gosh, and yes, you best believe it, that's a portal too.
Her own drones are a little more restrained, floating above the wheat patch adjacent to her armadillo scoop farm. A farmadillo, if you will. If anyone was going to Farmadillo, we'd expect it to be Rendog, but when we visit him, we find the scoop ball pitch being used to age copper trapdoors during the off-season. It's all so he can package them up as a thank you to False Symmetry for providing such excellent terraforming services, and Ren even throws in a Lilu Dallas multipass to grant official access to his base and farms. It has the side effect of making her look like a futuristic taxi driver collecting someone from the airport. Or I guess he's just given her false ID.
It's in the style of a Game Boy from 1988. You weren't born yet.
Oh my goodness.
But with the trapdoors all packed up, Ren can get back to the scoop ball drills just in time for the Premier League to kick off.
We've still got a Mega Node to make, as well as a whole bunch of other sweet, sweet things.
And finally there's Doc M, who will farm anything if there's a way he can break the game doing it. And since ominous trial spawners can produce potions perpetually if the mobs they spawn aren't dispatched, Doc traps a few in a minecart and funnels in a bunch of silverfish from an LA-infesting silverfish generator, then splashes those with weaving so they generate cobwebs on death. Of course, because of the ominous trial conditions, he has to do all this redstone with fire and wind charges firing at him constantly, turning an already tricky redstone puzzle into a high-stakes slapstick game show.
So we can get the guy to... Ow! Yeah, and here's the silverfish.
Once all the mob wrangling is done, though, he can finally slow down. To ludicrously slow speeds, actually, because he now has a cobweb factory capable of churning out around 2,000 per hour. So next time he wants to flood the server for revenge, we might find the Ore Snatcher caught in his web. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is PixelRefs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.